JFK, that's another hot topic here. What happened with the JFK situation? Israel was involved in killing JFK. There were three main entities that wanted him gone: the CIA, the Mafia, and the Zionist intelligence agencies. Well, let's go through why each agency wanted him gone. CIA wanted him gone because he said, I'm going to smash the CIA to pieces, because he thought they were a rogue agency that were very problematic, that created problems, and they were out of control, which is right. Alan Dulles, the director of the CIA, was absolutely horrendous, and Kennedy fired him. The Mafia wanted him gone because Kennedy's father had promised that if the Mafia rigged the election in Illinois, a big swing state, and helped Kennedy win the state of Illinois, if he got into office, he would leave them alone, let them make their money in the darkness like they always have, right, with the Prohibition era, etc. Mm-hmm. But what ended up happening was JFK gets into office. He doesn't trust anybody. He appoints his brother as Attorney General, Robert F. Kennedy, RFK's dad.
Wow.
Our current health HHS secretary. So RFK, as Attorney General, what does he do? He's not corrupt. He goes after the Mafia, brings them in for questioning. They're testifying under oath. Now America is finding out about organized crime, La Cosa Nostra. The first time America found out, thanks to RFK in the 1960s. And they had obviously operated in secrecy for decades prior to that. So, because they kind of had an idea of them from the Prohibition area, but they were able to kind of get back and do what they were doing, make money in secrecy. So they were pissed because this was all televised when he would bring them in for these hearings, Jimmy Hoffa, all these guys. So that's why the Mafia wanted him gone. They felt like they got backstabbed after they helped him win the state of Illinois. And then finally, the Israelis, they want him gone for two main reasons. The first one was nuclear inspections. So Kennedy had information through the CIA that Israel is conducting nuclear tests in Dimona. And once Kennedy found this information out, he called Ben-Gurion in and said, hey, I understand you guys are, getting nuclear capability. That's a problem. You need to de-arm, because Kennedy was very anti-nukes. He wanted everyone to de-arm. So Ben-Gurion was like, oh, they're on to us. He starts making like a fake control panel, like nuclear room. Mm-hmm. So when Kennedy sends the inspectors, they go check it out, and they're like, this is fake. What the fuck? And they go back and report to Kennedy, and he's like, these sons of bitches keep lying to me. So him and Ben-Gurion exchange a flurry of angry letters in 1963. And one of the letters that Kennedy sent to Ben-Gurion was, hey, if we don't get these nuclear inspections under control, our aid for Israel will be compromised. So in other words, no more foreign aid for you. Well, Israel's looking at that like, holy shit, that's problematic. We need nuclear weapons. Why? Because they had just survived multiple wars against the Arab world and the Suez Canal crisis. I think it was in 1956. And they got embarrassed. They had to run with their tails between their legs from the Suez Canal crisis with Egypt. So from there, that obviously created the impetus like, we need the fucking nuclear bomb. Everyone around us wants to kill us. No one wants us here. Israel is a relatively new country. It was formed in 1948. They had been a country for what, maybe 10, 12 years? Mm-hmm. They needed the nuclear bomb. So they realized that like, holy shit, this guy's getting in the way of us having nuclear capability, which could absolutely affect our ability to defend ourselves, because they wanted to be the only nuclear power in the region. So that's the first reason why they want him gone. The second reason they want him gone is because he wanted them to register under something called the Foreign Agent Registration Act, FARA. Every lobby that represents a foreign government has to register on this. And one of the important things when it comes to FARA is you have to disclose where the money came from that you are using to pay politicians or do whatever you're going to do. Now, why is that problematic? The reason why it's problematic is because at that time, you had gangsters like Mayor Lansky and Bugsy Siegel, right, along with Murder, Inc. and the Kosher Mafia, etc., or also known as Mafia, working alongside the Italian Mafia, and they were obviously running all these different, rackets, illegal rackets, making money. Also, Ben-Gurion was in bed with these guys, working with them, and he was also working with the Sunborns, which were, affluent businessmen. So you got a conglomerate of Israeli politicians, American gangsters, and American businessmen, all working together to send money to Israel, weapons to Israel, also paying off politicians. So that's why they couldn't have FARA, the American Zionist Council is what it was called. That's why they couldn't have them register under FARA. So you got the nuclear capabilities, and then the ability to pay off politicians being pretty much impeded. They couldn't have that. Wow. That's why they wanted Kennedy gone.
Do you think when they release the JFK files, this will be in there, or do you think they'll hide some of this?
I think the Israeli connection is the main reason why they haven't released the files. So, interesting thing as well, and I was just talking about this with Jake. So the most famous movie that documents the JFK assassination is a movie called JFK, back from 1991. And if you watch the movie, good film, But some things in it are correct, and a lot of things are off, and obviously obfuscate from what happened. And in the movie, they talk about the Mafia connection and the CIA connection, but they don't talk about the Zionist connection in the movie. And then once you look into the movie and see who directed it, who was it? Oliver Stone. Well, Oliver Stone, you find out his real last name is Oliver Silverstein, right? He's Then you find out that the person that funded the movie was a guy named Arnon Milchan, billionaire Zionist. Then it gets even better. He goes on Israeli television and admits he was a spy for Israel.
Whoa.
And not only was he a spy to preserve the Israeli nuclear program that JFK had been trying to stop.
Holy crap.
Yes, and you can look all this up. Incredible. An Israeli spy funded the most popular movie that's supposed to document the assassination of a U.S. president, the very president that tried to stop the nuclear arms that Israel now has. And he was a part of the intelligence program that was there to keep people from knowing about Israel's nuclear program. Because to this day, 2025, Israel will never publicly acknowledge officially that they have nuclear weapons. They won't do it. But we know that they have them. And I'll tell you how we know we have them. You go back in time, a couple of decades back, a guy named Mordecai Vanunu was a whistleblower. He got 50 pictures plus of Israel's nuclear tech room, right? He had the pictures. He wanted to sell them to a news outlet. So he gets with this Colombian dude, and the Colombian dude sells it to a guy named Robert Maxwell. Well, who's Robert Maxwell? That is Ghislaine Maxwell's father. Ghislaine Maxwell, the one that was with our boy Jeffrey Epstein.
Wow.
So basically, Ghislaine Maxwell, her man, Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell's father was Robert Maxwell, a known Mossad agent, right? Mossad asset. He finds out that Mordecai Vanunu, this whistleblower, tried to sell these pictures to the news. What does he do? Hey, Mossad, fucking guy knows that we have nuclear weapons. You need to do something. So what do? They get this chick. Hey, Mordecai, you're kind of cute. Let's hang out. Come to Italy, meet me. His dumb ass flies over there. Next thing he knows, he's getting fucking kidnapped.
Wow.
And they take his ass back to Israel, put him in a secret court. He does like 10 years in prison, solitary confinement. I think he converted to Christianity and he left. He fled. But yeah, dude, he basically blew open that Israel has nuclear weapons. But to this day, they will never acknowledge that they have them.
Wow.
And a big reason why they won't acknowledge that they have them is because you cannot get foreign aid from the United States if you have nuclear capabilities because it violates certain laws. So President Jimmy Carter, in March 10, 1978, President Jimmy Carter signed the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Act of 1978 into law. The bill, which he had sent to Congress on April 27, 1977, incorporated the Symington and Glenn Amendments to the Foreign Assistance Act of 1961. So in other words, the amendment barred U.S. economic and military assistance to any country that imported or exported spent nuclear fuel reprocessing or uranium enrichment equipment, materials, or technology will fail to comply with International Atomic Energy Agency. So in other words, we can't give aid to them while running their nuclear program. It's illegal.
Crazy.
And that's why they have to keep it a secret to this day. Because what ended up happening was they stole a bunch of uranium from the United States. There was a factory in Apollo, Pennsylvania called NUMEC. The guy that ran it was a dude named Shapiro, also a Zionist. He allowed the illegal smuggling of this uranium through South America, destined for Israel.
Wow. So
that's how they got it.
They might have a ton of nuclear weapons over there, though.
Yeah, for sure.
Jeez. That's
for sure.
Crazy.
Wherever you guys are watching this show, I would truly appreciate it if you follow or subscribe. It helps a lot with the algorithm. It helps us get bigger and better guests, and it helps us grow the team. Truly means a lot. Thank you guys for supporting, and here's the episode.